Right, hi everyone. Nick Holland here, Sports Car Global. I'm with Harry Tincknell on the phone. Hi Harry.
Hi Nick, how you doing?
Doing very well, thanks. You're well?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, not too bad. Looking forward to all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we're between test day and the main event, which obviously is a very busy time, and really appreciate Ford Performance and Harry making time to chat with us. Um, first,
Yeah,
que-
sure.
First question, Harry. How did the opportunity with Ford come about for you?
Well, obviously I was with Nissan last year, and as that was sort of the dream contract that I signed in the end of 2014 to go to LMP1, but the program obviously didn't quite work out as expected, and we spent a lot of time after Le Mans testing the car over the summer and winter in America. And we did find a lot of improvements, and everything was going in the right direction. But obviously, sadly, they cancelled the program in December, which isn't a great time for a racing driver to sort of be out of a drive, because obviously most other teams have sorted their lineups out. So I was sort of I'm still a Nissan athlete, and I'm still racing with Jota Sport. We're obviously supplied by Nissan with their engines, but I had free reign to go out and see what opportunities there were in the World Endurance Championship and for Le Mans. And Jota had already signed Jake Dennis, so there wasn't an option there to go back to the team that I won with in 2014. But I'm managed by Adam McNish, and obviously he's got his ear to the ground on everything endurance racing and just motorsport in general. And Ford had signed their four main drivers, but was still looking for their third driver for Le Mans. And so he spoke to George Howard Chappell, team principal, and we got some discussions going. And luckily for me, quite a few of the Nissan employees were now working at Ford, and so they've, I think, said some good things about me. And we sort of presented everything we could to try and get the drive. And luckily, even though I didn't have any GT experience, I managed to get the deal done for Le Mans and also for Silverstone and Spa to get me up to speed before obviously the main event. So there was a little bit of nerves, I guess, and a little bit of risk from their side that I hadn't driven a GT, but I was confident that I could get up to speed with it quickly. And I certainly didn't have any problems with the Nissan, and that it doesn't get much different than the front wheel front wheel drive LMP1 car. And luckily, the sort of skill set from prototypes transferred over quite well to GTs. And to be honest, I haven't really looked back from the moment I jumped in the car. It's a fantastic car to drive, and amazing that an opportunity like that was still available so late in the day, because at one point I was sort of looking like I was really struggling to find a drive for Le Mans, and that would just be utter pain and misery for a few weeks in June if that was the case without one.
Yeah, absolutely. I recall you were the face of Jota, I think, that went and did the G Drive deal in Russia. Is that correct?
Yeah. I went over to Moscow for the press conference, which was a great experience. I'd never been there before, and it was really, really interesting to go to a new country, a new city, and it's a really exciting time for Jota, and with this G Drive deal, and I've continued to race for them in the ELMS this year, and with the G Drive colours, and we're leading that championship at the moment. So we're obviously doing quite well in that, and really happy to be continuing that relationship into its third year. And it was always going to be unlikely that I would drive for both teams, their WEC team as well. But no, I went over for the press conference, and like I say, it was an interesting experience.
Great. Just coming back to Nissan and Ford, obviously you maybe came to the Ford program later than you were involved in the Nissan program, but can you compare their approach as new teams with new cars?
Yeah, I mean, the Ford was certainly on track a lot earlier than the Nissan, and that's clearly a big advantage. Whereas obviously the Nissan didn't really get on track until November, December of 2014. So immediately you're playing catch up, and of course, the LMP1 car with the hybrid system, it's very, very complicated to make it work. And we decided not to do the first 2 rounds of the WEC to continue to test and concentrate on that. And obviously in the end we didn't run with the hybrid system because we just couldn't get it to everything function in time. The GT is obviously less complex with the engine and powertrain setup that we have, and the EcoBoost engine was already developed for us and being raced before. So it's from that side it was an easier transition for the team, and they could sort of really focus on the car and not have to worry too much about the powertrain. So I think everything got up to speed a bit quicker, and obviously having the American side of the program, the IMSA side, working flat out as well, we're effectively got double the testing and double the knowledge. We're one team racing in 2 different championships, but we're learning from each other all the time. And certainly some things on the car that the team used to secure the American team used to secure the Laguna Seca win was on our car the next weekend, should I say, and that enabled us to come second at Spa. So without some of that knowledge, maybe we wouldn't have been as quick. So from that side as well, we're sort of able to run at twice the pace that we were last year. So that's quite a unique thing and quite different. I mean, the rest of it, both teams are just absolutely flat out, or were flat out, should I say, with the Nissan and the Ford, their mechanics are working 8 till 8, sometimes later, every single day. And I'm sure they're looking forward to a little bit of a holiday after Le Mans, to be honest. There's no difference in commitment and professionalism, but I think one of the key things is being on track early and getting a lot of testing in. We've done 2 24-hour simulations and a lot of private testing in between, whereas with Nissan we were going into Le Mans with really only a number of hours in a row under our belts, and so the 24 hours was a massive unknown, whereas with Ford hopefully we've proven already that the car can be reliable, and we've just got to make it go as quick as possible and look after it during the race.
Sure. Just for the listener, Laguna Seca, the GT, got its win through incredible fuel mileage and economy. I think the drivers adapted using lift and coast and so on, and I'm assuming for strategy at Le Mans that obviously could be a significant factor.
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of techniques and a number of improvements used, and I know the Roush Yates guys have developed a very fuel efficient map which was used in that race to help the guys as well as all their efforts within the car. So we all know that if you can do an extra lap at Le Mans, that saves 2 or 3 pit stops over the course of a race. So fuel economy is obviously vital, and I think the EcoBoost engine is a particularly efficient one, and we're still producing good power, but clearly it's efficient, and that efficiency has won us races. So let's hope it can do it again.
Yes, I mean certainly again at Le Mans, efficient and proven are 2 key things that you'd want to tick those boxes, and the Ford GT has certainly got that. At Silverstone, when we spoke, you were on double duty that weekend of the G Drive Gibson in the ELMS and running the Ford GT. I think you expressed to me there that you were just making way by exploiting as much grip as you had. Have you become more familiar with the Ford GT now?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I feel massively at home now with the car. At Silverstone, it was a very interesting weekend. I was sort of running around all over the place. And, it was I tried not too hard, not to think too much about what car I was driving, if that makes sense. Like I say, just drive to the grip that I had, because I think you can sort of start confusing yourself if you really start to think about everything too much. But yeah, we've done a lot of testing since the cars literally got loaded into the truck at Silverstone, went straight to Aragon for a 30-hour test. And then they went pretty much straight from there to Spa, and then we went straight from Spa to Monza. So yeah, naturally I've done a lot more time in the car, and actually I think when we went straight from Silverstone to Aragon, I did a lot of testing there. I did 5 or 6 hours at least in the car. And at the end of that test, it all started to make sense. I mean, I was on the pace and I was fast enough at Silverstone, but I was still sort of on edge of making a mistake and, just not got that 100% feel of the car under me and that confidence to really push, but without knowing you're not going to make any mistakes. And at Aragon, it suddenly all started to click, and I sort of came away from there feeling really, really good about myself and the driving, and went to Spa, and I was really fast, really consistent. We managed to get second, which was fantastic for the boys, to reward them for all their hard work, and then even more time in the car at Monza. So yeah, I feel massively more at home, and even though it's only my sort of 4th GT race at Le Mans, I'm going there feeling as confident as I would do in the Gibson.
Yeah, certainly. I guess coming into a team, a driver lineup a little bit late, and such a prominent manufacturer in the 50th anniversary year, it does bring a certain amount of pressure, and to get comfortable with that, could take time. I can fully understand that. At Sports Car Global, we've kind of nicknamed the 67 the Britpack car of the four GTs. Yeah. You've already mentioned that Ford is benefiting from having the 2 squads, the WEC and the IMSA squad. Will those squads work as one unit at Le Mans, or are they very much working as 2 pairs?
No, we're working as one team. We're the UK team, as it's going to be called, is in one set of garages, and the USA team is next door in the other set of garages. There are people involved with the program whose sole job is to convey information across both teams so that everyone knows exactly what the others are doing, what the others are trying, so we can really benefit from having 4 cars. So it's very, the information is very, very open, and all the data and analysis and everything is very open. But of course, the UK team and the USA team are used to working separately. So I guess during the session and everything like that, the UK team and the USA team are, they work separately on the cars and separately with the engineers. But there's lots of meetings afterwards, and post test day, and meetings building up to the race week with both sets, so everyone's on the same page. And it can obviously get a little bit hectic, when you've got lots of people trying to give each other the same information. So like I said, there's 2 or 3 people whose sole job is to just be the go-between between the 2 teams. But certainly all the data and all the important information that each side learns and set up and stuff like that is completely transparent, and that's the way it's got to be, because we want all the Fords to be fast because we're a new team and you just don't know what's going to happen in the race. And we've sort of got 4 bullets in the chamber, and we need to make sure one of them hits the target.
Yeah. With that in mind, I'm going to ask the question. Do you have any strategy insights for us at the moment? We won't tell anyone, obviously.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you our fuel strategy and who's going to start and who's going to finish, but I mean, our aim at the test day was to go away knowing what the car can handle and what it can't handle. So we did a lot of exploring on the track, shall we say. We've got a lot of numbers, a lot of load numbers on curbs and on different lines and stuff like that the guys are sort of furiously analysing at the moment. And we said we're going to sit down on Monday next week and go through all the information car by car and come up with our strategy for the week. So sitting here right now, I can honestly say that I don't know exactly what the strategy is, but what I can say is that we've tried as much as we could on the test day with stuff like curves and setups and lines and everything like that to really sort of give the guys enough information to be able to come up with what we think is the best strategy to win the one. Obviously, I've had that experience before, which is incredible, and I know that, 3/4 of the battle is the reliability and staying out of the pits. So I'm very keen to maybe take a slightly more conservative view than, just going hell for leather, flat out the whole race. And but we need to sit down as a team and really, make a strong case for whatever direction we're going to go in. And, Andy and Marino are both, very experienced guys who have come close to winning the one themselves before. And I think we're going to come up with a really good strategy to try and nail it. But like I say, the guys are working hard at the moment, and on Monday we're going to have a big meeting to see how we're going to go forward and win this thing. Sure.
I was going to ask you to summarise the performance of the car at test day, but I think you've kind of touched on it there. That and we've run our own. What little data we get compared to you, we've kind of analysed and reviewed.
Yeah.
You'll be glad to know, Harry, that you came out top in the 67 car in terms of average lap pace. So there's a little snippet from Marino and Andy to pick up on.
Look, I actually ended up doing a full stint at the test day to see how our fuel economy was and to see how the tyres, the tyre deck was and all the rest of it. So maybe I might have had a slight advantage there. But like I said, I'm feeling very strong in the car, and I think that confidence is only going to get more and more the more laps to do on race week. But I'm very happy with where I am, and looking at the data of the 4 cars, there's plenty of corners where one guy's quicker than the other, whether it be just within our car or within all 4 cars. So it's a great position for all us drivers to be in, because we can really, if we can piece it all together, we can be super quick. And the main thing to come out of the test day with the car setup is that it's very easy to drive, and obviously that makes that should make consistency a bit easier, and we need that every 24 hours, and we don't want to be fighting the car, because one thing, we're going to be bloody knackered by the end of it, but secondly, you've got to increase your chances of having a crash or having an incident. So we're quite happy with the base setup at the moment, and hopefully we can come back with something even better for race week. And honestly, I wouldn't look too much into the times at the moment with all cars, because there's so many whispers about, they're holding back, or they're doing this or doing that. There's so many games, and to be honest, Nick, I'm completely new to this whole BOP formula, and I'm still trying to get my head around it myself. But I think I'm looking forward to the race where the talk stops and we actually see who's got what. But our results are clearly showing that we're getting stronger and stronger. So let's hope that we can peak at the right time.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask you that. I mean, the consistency across the 10 active drivers was quite remarkable. Almost as if someone had said, "Don't blow the doors off the bop." So I won't ask you whether there were team orders in place, but it was nice to see. I think towards the end of the session, I think maybe yourself, and just to bring you down off that mountain of being fastest in your car, Ryan Briscoe got out and put in a notably slightly lower average than everyone else. So yeah, good to see. And clearly a capable and steady car. The only anomaly we had in our data that we see was this missing speed trap, which I'm not looking to start some sort of conspiracy on. Is there something different about the location of the transponder or anything on the Ford GT?
This isn't something I'm aware of actually, but what we weren't showing speed traps with.
Yeah, I mean, of the 132 laps that we counted and add into the averages, there was only 16. I think from the 69 car was the only one that showed any top speed times. But given
I know at the test with the 66, there was some transponder issues, and they were having to make extra exercise holes or something like that. It's certainly not something that anyone was deliberately holding back, and the ACO have all the live data coming into their their office anyway, wherever that may be, somewhere up in race control.
No.
So it's not like you can hide anything even if you wanted to, really. And I mean, again, it's very, I think it's quite easy from the outside, and maybe I even thought it myself, that way everyone just turns the engine down and all this, but they can see all that data.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you can really sort of hold back, really, because they can see everything. But like I say, you hear a few whispers and everything that's going on, but I think our top speed was sort of in line with where we were at Spa, so not as quick as the Aston, quite similar-ish to the Ferrari.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you that for sure. But I know there was a few bigger holes being made quite quickly so the car could get back out on track, certainly with the 66. But I'm sure that will all be sorted for race this week. And like I say, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, because there's been a lot of talk about how we're massively holding back, and we're going to just, when we turn it up, we're going to be super quick and all the rest of it. But we're a brand new team that's learning a brand new car, so it's nice that people think that we're doing a good job and we don't want to show anything, but we are driving as fast as we can as drivers, and we're continuing to make progress, and I think we've made another step. But is it enough to win Le Mans in our first year? I can honestly say I don't know, but that's quite an exciting thing in itself. That we're definitely going there with a chance, but I don't think any team and any driver right now is going into Le Mans going, we've got this nailed if the car lasts. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ford back in the 60s, I think first came with a GT in 64 and ran the engine that they'd used at the Indianapolis 500. That was unsuccessful. Similarly in 65, they came with a different engine and still got, I don't think they got a finisher. I think the first car home was a Cobra, powered by Ford. So it took until 66 for it to happen, and we always think about a 3-year cycle when it comes to Le Mans, so it will be an extraordinary performance when it comes. Just to wrap things up, thought we'd take a wander away from Le Mans and Ford and so on. Noticed you experienced a little bit of Ferrari F1 power. Did you enjoy that? Was that a Corse Cliente event or something?
It was, yeah. So Simon Dolan, who is my teammate for the last 2 years now in with Joe to Sports. He's taken the plunge and bought a 2010 ex-Fernando Alonso Ferrari F1 car.
A wise investment, if I know Simon.
Which is amazing because amazing piece of machinery and brings big smiles to whoever drives it. So I've been over with Simon a few times, with him driving the car, just helping him out as I do on an LMP2 race weekend. We've got a fantastic relationship, and I really have sort of focused as hard as I could for the last few years on helping Simon improve, and he really wants to be as fast as a pro driver, and honestly, he's really getting there, and some of his performances over the last 2 years, and certainly at Silverstone, first round this year, were up there with a lot of the pros, and so I've been over helping him in the same way with the F1 car, and then for the at the last test, he said to me, a week before, do you fancy having a go this time? And so it took me about a tenth of a second to decide what the answer to that was.
Yeah.
Just an amazing experience. It's so light and so agile, but so much power. I mean, I've experienced top speeds like that with a Nissan, and I've experienced acceleration like that with the Audi P1 car, but I've never experienced braking, change of direction, or agileness that F1 car's got. It's just unbelievable. For turn one at Mugello, we're entering at 200 mile an hour and braking at the 70-meter board for a second gear head, and it's just unbelievable. Really, really special experience. And when I first sort of started watching F1 when I was about 4 or 5 years old, of course, the dream was to drive one of those cars. And we all know the sort of the economy of F1 at the moment and how all that is. And I'm very happy with where I am in the World Endurance Championship, and not looking to move from there anytime soon. But it was still a dream, a lifetime dream come true to drive a car like that, and being a Ferrari in Italy as well was just made it extra special. So big thanks to Simon, and hopefully we might have another little blast at the end of the year in Hockenheim.
Sure. Does it rekindle in you any of that single-seater ambition?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, I look at some of the drivers that have come from Formula One and now in the World Endurance Championship, and they are clearly very strong, but it's not like they're coming at a level above. I think I would be able to hold my own in Formula One, but I'm honestly totally over that whole dream at the moment. In a different way to where I was at when I was, say, in Formula Renault or Formula 3, where it was sort of like the main goal, because it's just unrealistic. And, if you take sort of Sauber, for example, and you've got two quick drivers like Ganassi and Marcus Ericsson, and, bringing, 20, 30, however many millions, and they're still struggling to pay the staff, something's not right, because there's just absolutely no way that team could possibly hire a professional driver being paid when they can't pay the staff when they're bringing all this money. So something really has to change before Formula One could ever be an option, really. And of course, the top teams choose who they want to, but it's such a select few seats. I mean, that's the cup, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren.
Yeah.
That's like 2 LMP1 cars or 3 LMP1 cars. It's or GT Pro cars worth of drivers. It's not very many, and the opportunities and driving the different machinery that I've been doing in endurance racing and in WEC and ELMS has been massively exciting for me for the last few years. And I really, I'm still a fan of Formula One. I still watch it, but it's really not on my radar at the moment. But you never know what can happen. I think all these things go in cycles, and maybe 2 or 3 years' time, circumstances might change, and it might be an opportunity. But right now, I'm just really enjoying my racing with Ford and with Jota, and still being a part of the Nissan setup. So If you'd said to me this time last year that I'd be driving the Ford GT at Le Mans this year, I would have laughed at you. So who knows what's going to happen 2-3 years down the line. But whatever happens, it was a fantastic experience. I can always say that I've done it, and yeah, you just never know.
Yeah. Well, that's been fantastic, Harry. I mean, with horse racing in the family background, racing is obviously in the blood. You've mentioned, Alan McNeish and the advice from Jota and support of Simon Dolan and so on. Are there any other notable sort of guiding lights that have sort of shaped your career so far?
Well, Harry Soden is now runs Infinity Sports Management, and he started running me from when I was 9 years old in karting, and took me all the way through to that first MP2 deal along, with Alan, for the Jota Sport deal. That obviously ultimately ended up in me winning the Mans and getting the factory contract and having the back from there. But he ran me all the way through my karting career and sort of looked after me during the early stages of single seaters in Formula Renault and Formula 3. And Alan came on board at a similar time, but obviously was doing a lot of racing himself. So Harry was a lot more hands-on, and Alan would give me advice from afar and come to sort of 2 or 3 races a year, whereas Harry would be at every test and every race. So he was massively influential in my career, and he's bringing a lot of guys through from karting into cars now, and he looks after George Russell, who won the McLaren Autosport Award, alongside a lot of other guys. So I think you'll be seeing quite a few of Harry's drivers in professional drives maybe 2 or 3 years from now. And then obviously, my family and my mum and dad have been massive supporters, and don't come to as many races now as they did before, but they'll be at the Mans next week, and certainly follow me all around the world in karting and in single seaters. So wouldn't have been able to do it without their support. And I've been lucky to have been surrounded by good people, and all that advice that Alan gave me back in when I was 16, 17, that maybe I didn't quite understand the meaning of it all at the time, or didn't think it was that relevant, is now really standing me in good stead. And I quite enjoy being the sort of youngster in the team, whether it be Nissan last year or Ford this year or Jota. I'm really sort of grabbing all these opportunities with both hands, and being able to learn from people like Andy Prier and Ryan Briscoe and Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, is really, sort of had to pinch myself, really. I want to be doing Le Mans in 20 years' time, and won it as many times as possible. And it's a great place to be.
Well, we certainly, Sports Car Global certainly looks forward to supporting you through those 20 years as well. Somewhat think of you. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying that, hopefully we'll see a lot of the readers and listeners down there next week, and make sure you come and say hello if you see me around in the paddock, because it's a fantastic atmosphere at the Mans, and a unique atmosphere, and even at the test day, it's absolutely packed. So just absolutely love the race week, and let's hope we get some good weather, and we can have an exciting race.
Yep, I think we're on a banker for an exciting race. Come what may on the weather front, it does look a little unpredictable at the moment. Yeah, anyway, we will wish you all the best, Harry, and see you in La Sarthe.
Excellent. See you guys down there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.